So the Obama administration came to me because these big corporations were trying to get bigger. They were trying to buy bigger assets. And so the Obama administration came to me because these big corporations were trying to get bigger. They were trying to buy bigger assets. And so the Obama administration came to me and said, Comcast wants to buy this and Charter wants to buy that, blah, blah, blah. Are they good corporate citizens? And I said, do you want the Hollywood answer or do you want the real answer? They said, we want the real answer. I said, the answer is not no, it's hell no. They're not good corporate citizens. They said, how do you figure? I said, well, the industry spends $70 billion a year licensing cable networks. $70 billion. And African-American owned media gets zero. And that's not fair. And they said, we hear that a lot, but what are you willing to do? They said people are afraid to speak up because of reciprocity, of repercussions. And I said, I'll speak up. And I said, but I'm going to do it in a way we won't have to deal with it anymore. So I filed these lawsuits that ended up being historic. I filed a $20 billion lawsuit against Comcast and a $10 billion lawsuit against Charter. And
why weren't you afraid to do that as a TV guy?
Once again, you got to burn the knee pads. And I knew we were positioned to fail. We didn't have true economic inclusion, that we weren't really dealing with the fourth and final chapter. So I said, we're going to do this the right way. So we took them to court, and downtown, one of the judges ruled in Comcast's favor twice. And the other judge ruled on the Comcast lawsuit, and the other judge ruled in our favor on the Charter case. Charter didn't like it. They said, let's go to the Ninth Circuit. I said, well, if you're going to take me to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, I'll take Comcast to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Wow.
So we went to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And then something historic happened. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in our favor not once but twice on both Comcast and Charter. Comcast was very upset about it and said, well, we're going to take this to the Supreme Court. And now...
That's going on now.
That's going on now. Now we're going to be in the Supreme Court November 13th.
You said you felt like that was an insult to the black community.
It is a big insult to the black community because the truth of the matter is what I need the black community to truly understand, my case really isn't in the Supreme Court anymore. We, unfortunately, are in the Supreme Court. What happened was the Supreme Court said, we're not going to look at the Byron Allen case with Comcast and Charter. We pretty much agree with the Ninth Circuit. That's a dispute between you guys. But we are going to look at the Civil Rights Act of 1866, Section 1981.
Well, now, what is that exactly?
Great question. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 was put on the books after, so we were freed pretty much December of 1865. And instead of getting what some historians believe, reciprocity, 40 acres and a mule, we got this law. And basically it says we will have fair contracting, economic inclusion in government contracting and in commercial contracting. Because they knew that the newly freed slaves, African Americans, were not going to be treated freely in commercial contracting and government contracting, and it was essential for us to be integrated into the financial fiber of America. So this law was put on the books 153 years ago to make sure we had an economic pathway for economic inclusion. 150, it's the very first civil rights statute in America. It gave birth to civil rights, and it is the civil rights statute that allows us to have economic inclusion and stop economic genocide. So what Comcast said, and the Ninth Circuit told them to get out of here with this, Comcast said, in order for you or Byron or anybody, any minority, to use this law, you must prove that the reason we discriminated against you is 100% because you are black. The sole reason we discriminated against you, Charlemagne, is that you are 100% of the reason is that you're black. It could be 99% that you're black and 1% that you're wearing tennis shoes. And you can't use the law. You can't bring the lawsuit against me. So they're eviscerating it. They're making it impossible for you to use it.
Right.
Now, that is called the but-for standard. That is what Comcast and Charter, that's what they're pushing for. They're pushing for this this civil rights statute to go away. Now, what the Ninth Circuit said in favor of black folks and all minorities, Hispanics, Asians, everybody, that it's not the sole reason, which is the but for, it's the motivating factor.
Okay.
If any part of the reason, if they discriminated against you,
it would be impossible for it to be 100%.
there it is. It's impossible. So it can't be used. So if it's 20% or 30%, any part of the reason, now you can use it. So that is why we're in there in the Supreme Court. Now, here's what's happened. Comcast went and got what's known as a amicus brief, a friend of the court, got Donald Trump's Department of Justice to write them an amicus brief saying, yes, let's roll minorities back to 1865. Let's take those Negroes back to slavery. So I thought,
they're actually putting that on the books?
Donald Trump's DOJ wrote an amicus brief in favor of in favor of Comcast's position against us. And not only that, which we thought was unbelievable and hideous, something we've never seen. Comcast said, well, listen, we have 30 minutes in front of the Supreme Court. And Byron has 30 minutes in front of the Supreme Court. But you know what we're going to do, Comcast? This is what Comcast says. We're going to give 10 of our 30 minutes in front of Donald Trump's Supreme Court. We're going to give 10 of our 30 minutes to Donald Trump's DOJ. So now, on November 13th, we're standing in the Supreme Court in a Donald Trump era where we've got Donald Trump's DOJ arguing against us to take the first civil rights statute and eviscerate it.
Hold on now, Mr. Allen. Now, given the makeup of the federal courts, aren't you concerned that this new case can undo civil rights for a whole generation?
It could take us back to 1865, all minorities.
So is it worth it?
I didn't petition to bring it to the Supreme Court. They did.
Right.
And then what they did is they made what I call institutionalized racism. They treat us like we are a bunch of monkeys.
Well, that's how they look at us.
That's right, looking for a banana. So here's what they say. Hey, Byron, drop the case.
Right, that's what they're trying to make you do.
Drop the case. Drop the case and we might meet with you. We might work with you. Well, that's a racist offer. That's a I think you're nothing more than a monkey and here's a banana.
Now I'm playing white devil's advocate here, right?
Yeah, okay.
Right? I mean, shouldn't you want to kind of drop the case if it's going to set us back, set a whole generation back when it comes to civil rights?
No, because I didn't.
You not fight.
First of all, we won in the Ninth Circuit twice. We won twice, and I didn't bring it to the Supreme Court. They brought it to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. Now, if you don't come to us in a racist way, and you don't look at us like a bunch of monkeys looking for a banana, then you do it the same way you do it with all white people.
You just pay them.
No, you settle it up. You settle the case, and then it's dropped. Right. And so they didn't come
settle
to
There's no offer of a settlement.
Pay it. Whatever it is, you settle it up. But see, they never met with me.
Yeah.
And see, I asked them to meet with me, but why
they
won't
want you to drop it and then meet with, and then maybe meet.
That's
with
right,
you.
which is something you would never ask a white person to do.
Mm-hmm.
Never in a
So,
million years.
right, so you never ask that. You never ask anybody white to do that. So here, when we asked them to sit with us, they said no, we're not going to sit with you. As a matter of fact, my government relations person went to the government relations person of Charter. And he said, you should sit with Byron to resolve this. And she said to him, we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Whoa.
Okay? That's what she said. And he said, you know what? I have a number of white clients who are much tougher than Byron, and you've never called them a terrorist. And I said, there's the difference. Because
you should have said domestic terrorist.
Right? Because they look at us as, you're not equal. You don't sue me.
How dare you try to get something that you deserve?
All right, and how dare you sue me and use peaceful tactics? See, the offer is racist. Mm-hmm. Like, you drop it, and then I might sit with you, and we might work something out. So that's why you have to be really clear that stop the institutionalized racism. Sit down, Comcast. Sit down, Charter. Don't jeopardize the civil rights of over 100 million people. These are folks that, they're doing the wrong thing. And, Senator Kamala Harris, she was phenomenal. She wrote an amicus brief in our favor, and she got Senator Cory Booker to sign it, Senator Blumenthal, Senator Wyden, and 8 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. 8. Unfortunately, only 8 out of 55. Now, I believe we as black Americans, we have to ask the other 47 congressional leaders, why didn't you sign this amicus brief? If you want our money, you want our vote, why aren't you signing something to protect our civil rights?
How has the feedback been from existing civil rights organizations? Like, what are they saying to you?
Michael Lawson is amazing. He wrote a phenomenal letter saying to folks, hey, he said he sent a letter to Brian Roberts and David Cohen of Comcast and said, this is wrong and you should sit down and don't challenge our civil rights. Mm-hmm. And a lot of folks are very upset. I mean, they've taken it to a level, it's bigger than me. It has very little to do with me at this point because they're challenging our civil rights. Right. Here's what will happen. Here's what will happen. You take away this civil rights. Now someone can fire you and you can't get a lawyer. That's the reason why the Chamber of Commerce gave them an amicus brief, because they didn't want their businesses to be sued. So now you can't get a lawyer to take your case on contingency because it's hard to prove that 100% of the reason you were discriminated against.
Damn near impossible.
Damn near impossible. Right. So they don't want that law there to be used. So I say the moment people can discriminate against you and you can't hold them accountable, I say 3 words. Welcome to hell.
Wow.
Welcome to hell. And you have to ask, why are you doing this, Comcast? Why are you standing in the United States Supreme Court physically with Donald Trump's DOJ trying to eviscerate this civil rights statute? Have respect, sit down with me, and let's work it out. And this goes away.
Is it true that Comcast executives told someone at your company they're not trying to create any more Bob Johnsons?
That is what someone told us. Absolutely. Wow. That is, and look, we'll think about it. Who has created wealth in this country that didn't come from entertainment for the most part? It's very hard. You have you can count on one hand. On one hand.
You mean black people or just
black
in general?
People.
Okay,
yeah, black people. Yeah, outside of sports and entertainment and your own talent, that's
We're not in the pharmaceuticals and the tech. And
there it is. And that's why this lawsuit is important, because you need to protect this. Because what historians believe, this was our reciprocity. This is your pathway. You have to protect this law. I
want to set this up for you in a nice button because I know people will take this, right? And I know you got to go.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I got plenty of time. I'm here to hang out with you. I've been looking forward to this. I don't have a meeting. I'm good.
He said, I'm good. I make my own rules.
I make my own rules.
I make my own rules. I do what I got to do.
Yeah, I like hanging out with you.
Greetings.
Almost finished, and as soon as that's done, I'm going to go right in.
Oh, yeah, no rush.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you know what? I can elaborate off of it from there. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. This is the Freedom Truth Radio Show, and you guys, I know that was a little bit unorthodox from how I normally start, but I wanted you to hear an exclusive interview done by the Breakfast Club with Byron Allen. Byron Allen, for those of you that don't know, is a media mogul. He's been in the entertainment industry for a long time as a writer. He wrote comedy for sitcoms, for comedians, he was a producer, TV producer, and here recently he has just acquired the Weather Channel as well as a couple of other smaller networks. So he independently owns a lot of controlling media on TV. Now he is going presently through a lawsuit with Comcast and another media conglomerate that I didn't get the name of when he was talking about it. But now what I want you to pay attention to is not so much the lawsuit, not so much of Byron Allen suing and being countersued by by Comcast and the other media conglomerates. What I want you to pay attention to in conjunction with what we talked about last week about these civil rights and the rights that you think you have when you claim the status of being black. Now, if you notice carefully when you were listening to him talk, this is all he talked about was black civil rights, black this, black that. And yeah, we all know what we're used to, but you got to understand right now in the time that we're in, there is a paradigm shift. And if you don't recognize what's happening and recognize what you need to change, you're going to be lost in the sauce. Because it's black rights don't even they don't even exist. They don't exist. And you know, the whole Black Lives thing, Black Lives Matter thing, that's a farce. That was started by a group of Zionists. And so if you think you're wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt and supporting your people, you're not. You're supporting an agenda that is built upon the grounds of white supremacy. Or for lack of better term, should I say leprous supremacy. Because, as I said last week, unless you claim white, you have no rights. Now, I got my chief on here, Chief Nanya Shaabu L, and he's going to come on in a second, but I got to elaborate on this whole thing with Byron Allen. He talked about the whole Civil Rights Act back in 1863, and what you got to understand that since black has no standing at law, that does nothing for us. Because what you don't know, and what while you're sitting at home watching reality shows and watching who's doing what and who shot John and the fake news, they are doing things behind the scenes that you don't know about. And the stuff on media TV is keeping you dumbed down. So, back in January 18th, 2011, and significantly it happened to be the day after Martin Luther King's birthday, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a landmark decision that serves to allow judges to void the Constitution in their courtrooms. So if you go into a courtroom that has a flag with yellow fringes, which represents maritime law, which represents the law of the seas, which represents the fact that they are independently operated, you have no rights. If you go in there claiming black power and all this stuff and say that I'm going to exercise my constitutional rights, the Constitution was not written for you. It's not going to work. The judge is going to look at you and do everything but laugh because he knows that you have no constitutional rights if you're trying to claim U.S. Citizenship or claim rights under the guise of U.S. citizenship. This is all, what you think is law is all color of law. It's not real. It's smoke and mirrors. You don't know what you don't know. Everything that you think is real is not real. So therefore, if you go into court and think that you're going to claim civil rights, and you're going to think that you're going to claim rights based on the U.S. Constitution, which was not written for you, you're going to look like a fool. And nothing's going to happen in your favor. Because back in January 18th, 2011, the U.S. Supreme Court decided that the Constitution has no standing for you. It doesn't work for you. And it's void. It doesn't work in the courtroom. And this you can Google this stuff. This is all true. So the 13th and the 14th Amendments of the Constitution that name you as chattel property, pretty much, or in what people like to claim as the backing to their civil rights, they don't exist. And guess what else? The Dred Scott decision of 1857 means that no descendant, it says that no descendant of Africans can claim citizenship of the United States of America. Now, if you don't know anything about what's going on, how the country is operated, the United States of America is not a country. It's a corporation. It's a religious corporation under the control of the monarchy of England and the Vatican. It's a corporation. It's not a country. This is not. America is a country, but the United States of America is a country. It's a corporation built on a trust of the in God we trust. The in God we trust is not a statement that you think is on money that makes us a quote unquote Christian nation. It's an actual trust. Look it up. It has an address in Philadelphia. In God we trust is a trust. So what you think you know, you don't know. And I'm trying to tell you, those of you that are in my community that look like me, that are brown-skinned people, that subscribe to black and black power and all that stuff, get away from all that, because it's not going to help you. And Byron, I'm sorry. I respect you as a media mogul. I respect you for all the work that you've done in television production. But when you go back to court on November 11th, you are going to lose. I'm sorry to tell you, I have bad news. You're going to lose. You know why? Because as long as you're claiming black and you think you're going to use this law from 1863 that gives you your so-called civil rights, they're going to laugh in your face. These civil rights don't have any standing for you. You're going to lose this case, and they have it in the bag. They have you right where they want you, Byron Allen. Now, what you need to do, you know what? This is how bold I am. I'm going to send a clip of this show. Matter of fact, I'm not going to send a clip. I'm going to send the whole video of this show to your inbox on Facebook. I don't know who answers your inbox, but I hope you get it. Because you know what I want you to do? I want you to get in touch with my chief so you can correct your status before you go to court on November 11th, because that's the only way you're going to win. Because right now, you're not going to win. Oh, thanks, bro. Shout out to my man Monk, who's co-hosting with me.
I'm trying to share it around, man, but they can't see it.
Yeah, Facebook trying to lock us up, but we ain't going to let that happen.
They already got me.
Yeah. They got you in Facebook jail. But Byron, man, word of wisdom to you, man. Like I said, I respect the work you've done in the entertainment industry as far as your television production, all that stuff. You've made moves that nobody else has made. But you've got to get the missing link to your puzzle, to your chain. Because right now, they got you right where they want. They gave you a little piece of a cookie thinking that you won the last case. But you didn't really get anything. You were able to come out of the court and say we won. But now you're taking this further. You're not going to win because you've got to correct your status. You've got to change your whole status from black to white, indigenous or Talkton, which is what you are, whether you know it or not. But if you get with my chief, he can help you out. Chief, you on the line?
I am who I am.
Chief, go in.
I'm here.
Because we got a lot to cover. We're going to talk about these contracts. We're going to talk about this whole civil rights thing. NAACP, National Action Network, Push Coalition, who absolutely does nothing for us. All they do is march. So you got the floor, man. Go ahead and give your knowledge and correct this stuff that we think we know.
Tim Top, begin all things by first using the all. Greetings to everyone. First thing is there's a lot of problem. People are trying to get on to the video on your the link that you gave Sauce.
Yep, I just corrected the settings to public.
Okay, great.
They should be able to get on now.
And so please, everybody in the chat, share the link here. And for those that can't get on, or those who know people that can't get on, send them in their inbox. Put it on your Facebook page, on your timeline, so people can get in. That's no coincidence. So I just wanted to clear that up because we got a lot of people that white people that are trying to get on. Yep. And of course, Facebook is blocking the true white people from getting on.
Of course,
but
of course
that's all they can do is slow down. They can't stop.
Right.
Okay, so first thing is we're going to continue off where the focal point you wanted to look at was contract.
Yes.
Okay, so what I stress is language, and that's one of the major keys for people getting what they want to call freedom, or for acknowledging like what's really going on. It's the language. The old saying is, if you want to hide something from a nigger, put it in a book, because niggers don't read.
Well, I'm reading. I got Behold the Pale Horse right here. I got my book right here.
So that's the first thing. So once we acknowledge that, does Stephen talk? Which book do you talk about? The African Origins of Biological Psychiatry?
No, Behold the Pale Horse.
Oh, Behold the Pale Horse. Okay.
Yeah, I got that right here. I'm holding it up so people can see it because I want them to go get it.
Yeah, definitely a book to get.
Yep.
Definitely. Greetings to Mo, you Mark, as well. Appreciate you on as well.
Peace, brother.
All right, then. So, contract. Now, according to Black's Law Dictionary, contract is an agreement upon sufficient consideration to do or not to do a particular thing. There's a case of Edwards versus Kirsey, 96 U.S. 599, 24 LED 793, and Canterbury versus Miller. A covenant or agreement between two or more persons with a lawful consideration or cause. Jacob, a deliberate engagement between competent parties upon a legal consideration to do or abstain from doing some act. Wharton, a contract or agreement is either where a promise is made on one side and assented to on the other, or where two or more persons enter into engagement with each other by a promise on either side. 2 Stephens, Mission 54. A contract is an agreement by which one person obligates himself to another to give, to do, or permit, or not to do something expressed or implied by such agreement. Civil Code of Louisiana, Article 1761, and this is Fiscal versus Police, July 34, LA, Louisiana, annotated 45. A contract is an agreement to do or not to do a certain thing. Civil Code of California, and then there's a link here. I'll be sending you these as well, so don't worry.
Okay.
So you'll be getting them. The next thing is, where is it here? Okay. Online, when we go to online etymology, there's a they have a definition for contract. So generally we'll go to the etymology, but because it's contract, we're going law first and then etymology. But generally speaking, we'll go to etymology first and then to your Black's Law Dictionary. So you understand there's a difference between, this is for your listening audience, there's a difference between the layman definition and comprehension versus a legal definition and understanding.
Right.
Okay, so I'm just pulling this up here. So contract, which is interesting, it comes up first as a verb and not a noun.
Yes.
So in the late 14th century, contract as the verb to draw into a smaller compass becomes smaller, shrink, intransitive. Early 15th century is make an agreement, enter into a contract, agree or establish to undertake mutually, from the Old French contractere and directly from the Latin contractus. Past participle of contrahere, to draw several objects together. Draw in, shorten, lessen, abridge. Metaphorically, make a bargain, make an agreement, from assimilated form of com, with or together, see con, C-O-N, and trahere or traheri, to draw, see tract, the noun in the first definition, related, contracted. So the meaning to acquire as by habit or contagion, become infected with, is from the 1590s.
Wow.
So contract now as the noun is early 14th century, an agreement between two or more persons to do or not to do a particular thing, originally, especially of marriage. So contract especially originally dealt with marriage. And this is from the Old French contract, or modern French contract. From the Latin contractus, a drawing together, a shrinking, a contract, an agreement. From past participle of contracere, to draw several objects together, which is what was talked about in the verb, and contract as the verb. So this is the first thing that people need to comprehend. The United States of America Religious Corporation, United States Federal Corporation, and America is the actual definition from the 1828 dictionary, which described the copper-colored races of the Americas.
That's right.
So we want to be clear on that. When people say America, the original meaning was the copper-colored races that were found here, the indigenous. Okay, so that's the first thing we want to get across. So the next thing is we played the Byron Allen audio, and so now I'm just clicking on here. I went and got the Civil Rights Act of 1866, and it's codified at 42 U.S.C. Section 1981. So now he said section, so Byron got it wrong. It isn't Section 1981. It's codified at 42 United States Code subsection 1981. Because when you go to the original 1866, that's the 39th Congress, Session 1, which chapter is this? I think this is chapter 31 from 1866. So this is an act to protect all persons in the United States in their civil rights and furnish the means of their vindication. This is the title of this chapter 31. Now, on the Bible spiritual number, chapter 31 is symbolically known as offspring under the Bible spiritual number. So, offspring. Now, so let me read it again. It is an act to protect all persons in the United States in their civil rights and furnish the means of their vindication. Now, this was 5 years before the Legislative Act of D.C., otherwise known as the D.C. Act, which turned the United States into a corporation. So if you look under the Legislative Act of 1871, that's where you will see that the United States was converted into a corporation.
Okay.
Okay, so we got that clear.
Yes.
So now we go to 42 U.S.C. Section 1981. Now this talks about equal rights under the law. Now the 1866 that Byron Allen is talking about was that was 9 years after the Dred Scott decision. Now, did you get the email where I sent you the original 13th Amendment with 20 sections?
I don't think I did. I might have, but I don't think I checked that afterwards because I got the first amendment with the Supreme Court.
Yeah, because there's an original 13th Amendment with 20 sections. A lot of the people who say they're sovereign and into the sovereignty and all that,
right,
free man on the land, they like to quote the 13th Amendment with 2 sections. But they don't talk about the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. Okay, so I forwarded it to you before. I'll just forward it to you again. This is a high-quality PDF here. I'm just going to forward it to you right now.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, because I sent that to you 4 days ago. So if you just saw forward, and ignored, that was the one. So I'm going to just send it to you again.
Okay.
Right now while we're on air, so everybody can know now. This is something that Moors from the Moor Science Temple are aware of, but they don't print the original one. What they do is they retype it and then pass off the typeset one as if it's a valid one, and the people who don't know any better accept the retyped one as an authentic one. When I'm just sending you right now the actual one, which was published by the Congressional Globe on April 9th of 1865. So I just sent that to you, and you'll see.
Okay, I got it now.
Yeah, and I put this on Facebook before. I've tagged Todd and the rest of the people who are the Moor Science Temple monkeys, and I think that was all seriousness. And I send that to them for them to realize, like, okay, if you guys are sound about what you're doing, why aren't you publishing the original Congressional Globe, Saturday, April 9th, 1864, so 1864. So why aren't you publishing that? And so that means they got something to hide. So when you go to Article 12, or Section 12 rather, and Article 13, Section 12, you'll see I have it there in red.
Yes.
And
I'm gonna put, if you don't mind, I'm gonna put this in the chat.
Pardon?
If you don't mind, can I put this in the chat?
Yeah, everything I'm sending you is for full publishing. Oh yeah.
Okay, that's the first
one. Can you please read that so it's not like I'm being biased?
Right.
Section 12, you can zoom in. So please read it.
Okay. So section 12. Section 12.
You got it?
Yep. I'm just zooming in because
okay, great.
It's okay. It says give
them the section.
Section 12. It says the traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on. I can't see what that word says.
On pain of death.
On pain of death and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein, and the dependents of Africans.
No, the descendants.
Oh, I'm sorry. The
descendants.
Descendants. I couldn't see it. It was kind of blurry. The descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. Wow.
So when we go back up to the top here, you'll see April 9th, 1864.
Yep.
So the Dred Scott decision was in 1857. So now, 7 years later, which is a perfect number from the Bible, spiritual numbers, as they say, the Congressional Globe, and it says, this is the official proceedings of Congress published by John C. Rives, Washington, D.C. 38th Congress, first session, new series number 94. So, when you, on the back, was in the bottom left, I think it's the bottom left page. Yeah, on the bottom left page is at 1490, and the page that continues after it is on a different page. It's not congruent. So when you go to the second scan, the second scan will show you that the continuing page is not the same.
Right.
Okay? So, because that one's 94, and then 94 is the beginning page of Article 13. So, for example, page 1 is, what page is it here? Okay, it's number 94. And then when you go to page 2, which is what you just read, is 1490. So it took 1,490 pages before it even got to that point.
Wow. That's a lot.
So that just goes to show you this is where the Moor Science Temple and anyone calling himself a Moor or a Moorish American, those nationality cards are fraud. That's why they put I am a citizen of the USA and say 13th Amendment with 20 sections, but they don't put the original. So it says they can't even be citizens. So to even put "I am a citizen of the USA" on a Moorish Science Temple of America or a Great Seal is fraud.
Wow.
This is right there. So when the people in the chat see that, now I've put this on Facebook, so it's been there. I've sent it out to certain Moors and people who say they're Grand Sheiks, Adepts, and all that stuff. And I'm like, can you please explain this to me?
Unbelievable.
And they can't. They can't. So now, 1866, which is the year later.
That's right.
Or pardon me, 2 years later.
2 years later.
So 1857 is Dred Scott. 1864 is they confirmed Dred Scott. 1865 is the Civil War. Civil War ends after 1865. 1866 is what Byron Allen was talking about. So now you see, and then 5 years after 1866, 4 years, after 1866 is the Legislative Act of D.C. of 1871.
1871.
So all those dates are important. So now you see when Byron Allen is talking about to Charlemagne, and Charlemagne the God knows because Tiffany Haddish was on there. I forgot to mention this in part 1, and she was on there saying she's a white woman, and Charlemagne just acted like she didn't say nothing, didn't call her.
I put that clip in the chat. Yeah. He did ignore her.
Go ahead.
I said I put that clip in the chat when she said I'm white on paper.
Yes, and he didn't say nothing. So he knows, and so now when he had Snow the God on his show, he's telling him and the guy who's handling the production or the sound in the studio, they were talking amongst themselves and wondering whether Snow was white or not. And she said she's actually Mexican, but she has to say she's white.
Yes.
And he said, what? The census came around and told us we have to check off white. She said, I am, and in the public, I'm Mexican and I'm white. When a crime occurs, then she becomes Mexican. When they do the census, she had to check off that she's white.
Unbelievable.
So this is all out there. Now, this, granted, is after Tiffany Haddish, and of course, to me, it's like, yeah, I had to do, a 5-day comment on black media. Black media is crap media.
Yeah,
period.
it is. That's right.
They're not going to do anything. They are already interconnected. They're too integrated with the matrix for them to turn around and flip. They can't do it. From a contractual standpoint,
that's right.
They can't do it. And since they don't know how to sign contracts without waiving their rights, if they want to breach on black people, they can do it. The next one is Sophia Stewart.
Yes.
Sophia Stewart knows me. We've spoken, and I told her, you're not going to make no money. Now, you got The Matrix in production. You got Terminator 6 that's already completed, will be coming out, and will be a trilogy, which it might do very well at the box office. This is the way that Hollywood is telling these black people, you all don't matter. You are chattel. You're still slaves to us. That's why they brought out the Harriet Tubman movie.
Of course.
That's in a big screen production. Oh, I'm watching that. People are like, what? I said, every slave movie, I want Hollywood to keep producing these slave movies. These Negroes out here ain't going to do a damn thing except complain. And I want to bring a science up that we have to start acknowledging. Science has proven that complaining shrinks the hippocampus. It shrinks your brain by complaining.
Wow.
They've confirmed that. This is with doing the scans of the brain, and when a person complains, their brain shrinks. So now, the next factor that comes in is that you're trying to awaken people to change their status from black to white. You have to factor in, okay, this person's been conditioned, they're hypnotized, they're under mind control, they're drugged into food, spells are being cast on them, witchcraft, whether we want to call it witchcraft, magic, is being cast on them. Then they are, with the advertising and the projection of how a black person's supposed to be, then you come to them with this information, and now their brain is already shrunken because they're constantly complaining. That means the muscle has atrophied.
Yes.
So when you try to explain this to people, they get resistant, hesitant. They're like, why are they uncomfortable? Why are they bugging out? Now it's like somebody who's trying to lift a 250-pound barbell, do a bench press, and it's never bench press. Now they have the potential and the capability. They have the potential and the capability to do it, but they have not built their body up to withstand the bench press. So you're actually hurting people who say they are conscious. It's mostly the conscious people. The people who really are aware don't have to say they are aware. You can tell by the way they conduct themselves,
right.
by the way they speak, they are aware. The people who run around saying they're conscious,
they're the ones that are not.
Those people, they're the ones that got the shrunken hippocampus.
Right.
Right? Killer Mike down in Atlanta.
Oh, my God.
Same thing. T.I.
Yeah.
T.I., I did a 5-day comment on T.I. going after Lil Wayne and said, hey, you need to stop with the buck shooting. And I did a 5-day comment to tell both of them. And I said, yo, if any of you all know T.I. or Lil Wayne, here, this video is for them. I said, same thing with Puff Daddy that was saying he was looking up and looking into the law. I did a 5-day comment. Said, hey, somebody give this to Puff Daddy and say, you got to first thing, you got to stop calling yourself black and start calling yourself white.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next thing was the, who was it? It was very, okay, so Puff Daddy, oh boy, it'll come back to me. There was another entertainer on the same wavelength that I said, yeah, you got to tell. Oh, yeah. I had somebody call me, this is probably about a year ago, and down in Louisiana, and they told me that Master P and the guys who roll with Master P, he said, they're all watching your stuff. He said, you got a lot, telling me you got a lot of people watching your videos.
I believe
you're not
that.
Aware of.
But they'll never say it in public.
Well, see, this is where it comes down to the point of, that's not our problem. That's not our contract. You can't do, right? Because Killer Mike did a Freudian slip on that interview, on that so-called revolution nonsense they had in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I saw that.
When he said,
yeah.
Right? Now, you see, in psychological circles, listen to what people say. He said explicitly, what y'all are really seeing here is a bunch of free niggers fighting over whose master's better.
Yep.
Because I can guarantee you, as revolutionary as he is not going to say he's white and tell people he's white and here's what has to be done. He ain't going to do that.
Well, on his, he did a Netflix special where he was challenging himself to do everything with black-owned businesses. He would go even like to a grocery store and say, "Is this black-owned? I can't buy it, or I have to buy only black-owned products. If it's not black-owned, I can't buy it."
Yes, I saw all the episodes. I saw it all.
Yeah.
Now here's what I'm going to tell. I want to read here from chapter 8. Of the esoteric factors of the crest theory. Now, this is from the book African Origins of Biological Psychiatry. This is on page 113. There is a huge difference between black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we would take out the word black and put the word white, and where it's white, we would put leper there. So, the white man and the leper man are distinctly separate and unequal. There is a state of war between the two races that spans thousands of years and has extinct billions of lives. Seldom has this planet witnessed a confrontation, a war of such dimension. It is a true example of total war. That is at times subtle or overt, mental or physical. It is warfare raging through every form of human expression, from art to politics and religion. No safe ground exists. This is for your listeners and for people that were on our webinar, that are off, who are banned. people who are going through the process right now to let them know up front, no safe ground exists, no neutral territory, no fence to straddle.
That's right.
All of us are involved, period. The confrontation between, as they say here, black and white, is a total war for survival, period. Without a doubt, the meaning of black versus white confrontation must be understood by every human if we are not to be severely crippled, consumed, or destroyed. And where they perhaps human there, I would put Nubun, which is the original name of the Ethiopian Thai Kushite people.
Yeah.
So now, contract, which is to agree to do a thing or not to do a thing. Now you have the iPads, correct, from the Integrated Post-Secondary Education Data System?
Yes.
Okay. Make sure you put the link in the chat for the people there, all the listeners there, to have it. Now there's a part there that talks about when the ethnicity was, when the race and ethnicity categories were created in 1997.
Yep.
And really updated because they had actually one in 1982 where they had the same categories, they just had different definitions.
It was still using colored, weren't they?
I'm not sure for 82, maybe prior to 82.
Yeah. Well, African, first it was, because I was born in the 70s, so I was still classified as Negro. And then it went to black, and then it went to Afro-American, and then it went to African-American.
Okay, great. So this shows there is a change and a progression as the years went on, right?
Yeah.
All white. Now, for the people who are your listeners and anybody that will hear the replay, the definitions for new race and ethnicity categories, the categories do not denote scientific definitions of anthropological origin.
They don't.
They're not talking about skin color. And then in the U.S. Census, they state the U.S. Census Bureau must adhere to the 1997 Office of Management and Budget Standards on Race and Ethnicity, which guide the Census Bureau in classifying written responses to the race question. So people who are on for the first time didn't hear the definitions. The definition for white is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. The definition for American Indian or Alaska Native is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South America, including Central America, who maintains cultural identification through tribal affiliation or community attachment. And the last definition of black or African American is a person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. So I would suggest that you upgrade your challenge or the information you're sending to Byron Allen, and you actually put on a tweet on his timeline, send him a DM, or tweet on his page, can you name me a black racial group of Africa? Because none of these people who are very intelligent, articulate, can answer that question because there isn't one. Right. So now when we get down to the explanation on the U.S. Census website, it says the 1997 OMB standards permit the reporting of more than one race, period. An individual's response to the race question is based upon self-identification. And then they repeat the sentence in the following paragraph. An individual's response to the race question is based upon self-identification. What is race? The data on race were derived from answers to the question on race that was asked of individuals in the United States. The Census Bureau collects racial data in accordance with guidelines provided by the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, OMB, and these data are based on self-identification.
Self-identification.
So when Rachel Dolezal called herself black and all the black people damn near had a
Had a heart attack.
out.
Yeah.
She was in her right to do so.
She self-identified.
Now, exactly, and she's also was a professor of professor of African American studies, which begs the question: how dare all these African American professors at these colleges and universities, especially the historical black colleges and universities, start telling the students they're black or African American and continually perpetuate that? That's damage, and it's genocide.
Facts.
Genocide is the word to use, not discrimination and not racial profiling. That is Title 18, USC, Section 1091. So, I'm just waiting for it to come up here. So while it comes up, so this is the issue now. The concern is people have been so embedded and integrated in the fraud to bring up the fact that that is incorrect and it must be corrected scares people whose livelihood is dependent upon the fraud.
Yes.
So, like I said, when Killer Mike and them had that so-called Revolution Summit in Atlanta, and Puff Daddy just happened to be there in the audience, and they're sitting there saying, yeah, we got to do something. Ain't nothing happening.
Do what?
There is no saving this planet until all the people who have black friends, black wives, black children, etc., whether they're adopted or mixed, tell them that they are actually white in commerce and they are lepers. Until that is done, they can forget about it.
That's
that
right.
includes Buddhism. That includes Zoroastrianism.
All of them.
That includes Zen. That includes Hinduism. Every religion on the planet is guilty of genocide against people with Nubunin, provided the people with Nubunin change their status. If they do not do that, the contract says, do as thou wilt, because they don't exist.
Wow.
So now I'm going to read 18 U.S.C. Section 1091 on genocide. So the basic offense is whoever, whether in time of peace or in time of war, and with the specific intent to destroy in whole or in substantial part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group as such, 1, kills members of that group, 2, causes serious bodily injury to members of that group, 3, causes the permanent impairment of the mental faculties of members of the group through drugs, torture, or similar techniques, 4, subjects the group to conditions of life that are intended to cause the physical destruction of the group in whole or in parts, 5, imposes measures intended to prevent births within the group, or 6, transfers by force children of the group to another group shall be punished as provided. So the punishment for basic offense, 1, this is B, punishment for basic offense, 1, in the case of an offense under subsection A1 where death results, by death or imprisonment for life and a fine of not more than $1 million or both. That's what will happen, that where death results. By death, the punishment will be death or imprisonment for life, the fine of not more than $1 million or both. And 2, a fine of not more than $1 million or imprisonment for not more than 20 years or both in any other. So now I'm going to go down to jurisdiction. There's a jurisdiction over the offenses described in subsections A, C, and D. 2, regardless of where the offense is committed, the alleged offender is a national of the United States, or B, an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence, or C, a stateless person whose habitual residence is in the United States. Now, when we go to Section F, under non-applicability of certain limitations, notwithstanding 3282, in the case of an offense under this section, an indictment may be found or information instituted at any time without limitation. So there is no statute of limitations on Title 18 USC Section 1091. So once you come on our webinar, you get your status changed. That's it. It's a binding contract
Yes.
with the president, who the Office of Management and Budget reports to. Now we're going to go to the 42, because it came up finally, the 42 U.S.C. subsection 1986. Equal rights under the law. Under A, Statement of Equal Rights. Now pay close attention to this paragraph. Then we'll break it down real quick. All persons within the jurisdiction of the United States shall have the same right in every state and territory to make and enforce contracts, to sue, be parties, give evidence, and to the full and equal benefit of all laws and proceedings for the security of persons and property as is enjoyed by white citizens,
Wow.
and shall be subject to like punishment, pains, penalties, taxes, licenses, and exactions of every kind, and to no other. B, make and enforce contracts defined. For purposes of this section, the term make and enforce contracts includes the making, performance, modification, and termination of contracts, and the enjoyment of all benefits, privileges, terms, and conditions of the contractual relationship. C, protection against impairment. The rights protected by this section are protected against impairment by non-governmental discrimination and impairment under color of state law. Okay, so let's go back to Section A. All persons within the jurisdiction of the United States shall have the same right in every state and territory to make and enforce contracts, to sue, be parties, give evidence, and to the full and equal benefit of all laws and proceedings for the security of persons and property as is enjoyed by white citizens, and shall be subject to like punishment, pains, penalties, taxes, licenses, and exactions of every kind, and to no other. Now, does anything stick out with you in that paragraph that I just read? Statement A, Statement of Equal Rights.
Well, there's the license and all those contracts that we carry around.
Oh, you overlooked the obvious. You missed the first two words. The first two words. It says right there, all persons.
Person.
Now, doesn't it say what are black people considered in the Constitution?
3/5.
So it's 3/5 the whole person.
No.
So they put it right there in the code. The first two letters, Byron Allen lost.
That's what it says.
says
He's going
all
to lose.
persons.
All persons.
Blacks are 3/5 a person. We know a person's a corporation. That's not the dispute here.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have standing at law. And Barack said the word what?
Black has no standing at law.
Game over.
That's it.
Quantum checkmate, as I say.
That's
Even
why
if
he goes in that
checkmate, the
Supreme
last
Court, he's not going to
checkmate.
win.
Say that again.
That's why when he goes in that Supreme Court case on the 11th, he's not going to win.
I thought it was the 13th. He said November 13th.
November 13th, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because the 11th will be what is that?
That's Veterans Day, right. So 2 days after.
So next Tuesday. That's next
Tuesday.
week.
Yep.
That's next Monday.
Yeah.
So 2 days after is going to be that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's already lost before he got in there. And the fact that he's going to go up against Trump's U.S. Attorney General,
oh my God,
who's going to speak in front of the Supreme Court for 10 minutes on behalf of Comcast and Charter, it's a wrap. I said, can he not see the setup?
It's a setup because they let him win in the they gave him what he thought was a win in the 9th District Court, which was nothing. There was nothing substantial for him to carry out. It was just saying, okay, you got it, pretty much. So, but the real playing ground is on the Supreme Court level, which is when he goes in there, and you just read it in the code. claiming to be a person carrying civil rights, that's not going to work. He already lost.
Before he even got there.
Right.
And so the problem we have had is the problem we had is when we present these facts to Sophia Stewart, the guy who wrote Avatar, told Michael Jordan he wasn't going to win this case. A week or 2 weeks later, he lost the case.
Mm-hmm.
Sophia Stewart won her case, but she can't get no FBI or any law enforcement agency to enforce the win because they all know what's their trump card. Black has no standing
at law.
Right.
Right.
So when Byron Allen said they're trying to put black people back into slavery, I said, no,
They
I
already
already
did.
sounded alarm in 2011 and told people they were put, if you all thought y'all were free, you're not. Now that he brought, and it's funny, who brought up the 1866, who brought the 1866 Civil Rights Act was the attorneys for who? Comcast and Charter, right?
That's right.
So what is this? That means they prove my point. The attorneys watch my videos. They know. I told y'all I had a sister who's got her own law firm in New York. She's got a certificate of completion from me and sent her SF-181 to the New York State Bar. So the New York State Bar, the New Jersey Bar, they are all aware of this.
No phone.
So it's a wrap. So all that to say, this is an example of contrast. So black and African American people have agreed to still remain black when the old Anglo-Saxon says it means to make pale, and the legal definition, of course, there isn't one, but they are considered dead in the eyes of the law, civilitas mortuus, and having no standing at law. Oh, I forgot to mention Professor Mustafa Hefni, the one who was from Egypt fighting the U.S. government for 28 years, was classified as white and then wanted to change his status to black. And what we mentioned that last Sunday in the last Sunday Part 1 interview. So what does this mean? And I did a 5-day comment, said, somebody please give this to Professor Mustafa Hefni. Mm-hmm. And he's a professor, educator. How is it he didn't see that for 28 years he wasted his life trying to be black? And the judge said, well, I'm going to throw your case out without prejudice, but the plaintiff is free to refile when what standing has been established. Black has no standing at law. So that's
right.
it. He's done. Then he's trying to lure other people from Egypt, from Nubia, into his nonsense. This is why I started off saying language is important.
Language, yes.
Because if you don't really know the definitions of language, you're saying one thing, and the people who are professionals or specialists will realize, okay, they don't know what the hell they're saying. Good, I'll just let them keep talking.
Well,
that's why when people have this, yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say that happens all the time, even when people go to municipal court, because they don't understand that the language they're speaking there is legalese, so to speak. And when you go in there and you respond to questions they ask, take something simple like do you understand? They don't comprehend that he's not asking, do you comprehend, do you get what I'm saying? He's saying, do you understand, do you stand under the decrees that I'm giving you right now?
Or do you stand under the charge?
Under the charge, right.
Under the jurisdiction of the court.
Exactly. Which, and another thing, they really don't realize that the one sitting behind the bench is no judge. He's an administrator or magistrate. There are no judges.
Correct. And this is why the problem is when they're saying, what do black people need to do to get ahead? I said, first thing they got to say, I am white. That's the 3 words of power.
Yep.
And if they can't say that, they're dead.
That's it.
There's no point in continuing. And like I said, I've issued challenges to all the great black legal minds, Moorish minds, indigenous minds, autochthonous minds, and I've challenged all of them on the planet, off the planet, within the planet, underneath the water of the planet, and I've been saying, okay, can somebody, somewhere, I'm keeping it within the planet and possibly the solar system, but right now, the planet Earth, because apparently that's supposedly all life that's in the solar system. But in any event, this is what I want to see who can answer the question.
Right.
The multiple challenges that have been put out. So since these contracts, right, have been put out and black people have agreed to it, what it allows anyone who does business with them to do, it allows them to breach the contract because technically speaking, they're not supposed to be doing business with black people anyway because they have no standing at law.
Right.
And even in the 42 USC, there's a hyperlink for make and enforce contracts. Let me see if there's a definition here. For purposes of this section, the term make and enforce contracts includes the making, performance, modification, and termination of contracts, and the enjoyment of all benefits, privileges, terms, and conditions of the contractual relationship. So in order for a contract, there has to be an offer.
That's right. Offer and acceptance.
Then there has to be a meeting of the minds. Then there will be acceptance by the one party who's being offered by the offeror. And then there will be compliance. Offer, meeting of the minds, acceptance of the offer, and then compliance. So this is why people don't mind doing business with black people, because if they want to steal their idea, their product, their service,
Yep.
their company, they can do that.
They just say sign here, and we don't read contracts. We don't read it because it's too much
black
to
people
read.
Don't.
No,
Yeah,
right. Black people
that's
don't read.
All the black people. Black people do not read
They
contracts.
do not read
All of them
contracts.
out. Black
do-
people get no sympathy from me.
No,
None.
black people don't read
That's the
contracts,
contract.
and they'll look at it and see the paragraph. And the sad part, and I've seen it done so many times. The person offering the contract will say, "That just states blah blah blah, this, that, and that. It's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Just go ahead and sign." And black people sign it, and this is the foolish part that they don't get. They're the only ones signing it. Contract should be signed by both parties in agreement. That's
Correct.
what establishes contract. How is it a contract if you're the only person signing it?
Because it's a concession that they need the energy of the living via the signature to cause the paper to move, to go into motion and action.
Which causes currency.
Electricity.
Yes.
And it confirms that the name, they're not talking about the flesh and blood person signing the contract.
No.
They're talking about the dead.
The corporation.
They're talking about the Sestakey Trust.
Yes.
They're talking about the fiction name, the all caps name, because that is the world that all caps name is in.
Absolutely.
So anything dealing in commerce is one-dimensional and flat. That's why you got to watch Superman Part 2, where General Zod, Ursula, I forget the other guy who couldn't speak, who was a mute, they all got sent into the Phantom Zone, which was like a quarter-inch thick square crystal floating in space, and it was light that transported them into that prison.
Wow.
So this is why when they do the adhesion contract, the state is what? A fiction.
Facts.
The state of New Jersey is a fiction. It's artificial. They'll
Yeah.
even give you the definition that they're artificial.
Well, that's why
So how-
most. I was just going to say that's why most states that have any university, they have two. They have, like, for instance, Michigan State University, and then you have University of Michigan.
Correct, because one is the corporation,
Mm-hmm.
the other one is the core, for lack of a better word, organic.
Organic
And so
state.
this is why they want the signature, because the ones who really doing business is the debt entity, which is the state, and the person says sign here on an adhesion contract, which only has one signature, and as such, the person signing actually acts as a power of attorney, because the name on the ID card cannot speak for
Can't
itself.
speak for
it
itself.
can't function. It can't move.
Right.
So that tells you it's inanimate.
And to take it one
Yeah.
step further, the person that's admonishing the one to sign the contract, they know that they're incompetent and they're treating him as such, a minor. A minor cannot think for itself, and that's another reason why the lawyers call the people they're dealing with clients. Because if you go look up the word client in the Black's Law Dictionary, it's a person that is incompetent and cannot speak or think for himself.
And let's upgrade that, and you go to the corpus juris secundum, which they hide from the public, and that tells you a client is a ward of the court, an infant or person of unsound mind.
Right.
And so this is why when I tell people, if they are independent, have their own business or whatever, I said, don't call the people who are patronizing you clients. Call them principals. Because they are the source of the funds that you're receiving. And then if they say, well, why are you using the word principal? Once you explain that to them, I'm pretty sure they prefer you to call them a principal.
Oh, you doggone
versus
right
a
they
client. They say client because they feel they're saying something, they're intelligent by call my client.
They're not. You're really saying, you might as well just be saying, this stupid person sitting right next to me is he can't think for himself, so I'm making all his decisions for him.
That can be said, but that would be a bit blunt. But then again, they might not say anything to that. They may not say anything to that. You never know. Okay, so now we've got that and the adhesions covered. Thanks to Byron Allen, and I already you sent the link there. Of course, people will get it.
Yes.
For the interview I did in 2012. So now, when you talked about a shift occurring, this show is on the day that they moved the clock back an hour.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
System.
Yeah.
Because daylight savings time was at 2 o'clock. They said move your clocks back an hour.
That's a big lie.
Now, did you see the movie Contact?
Contact. Was that with that wasn't with Nicolas Cage, was it?
No, that was Jodie Foster.
Okay. Yes, I did see that.
And
I remember
Matthew
that.
McConaughey.
Yes.
Okay, so remember when she finally made it to Vega, right? And spoke with the being there that looked like, turned himself into her father, and she said, no, you're just downloading my thoughts. I said, good, I just thought this would be more easier for you versus being in my true form, and then had the conversation with her. So she went into the pod dropped. Took about 3 seconds for it to drop, correct? And so when she finally woke up, she said, where did I travel? How long was I gone? And they told her, you didn't go nowhere. They said, we got 21 cameras all over from different angles. They said, you didn't go no place. And she said, no, I know, I felt it. And said, prove it, I can't. So at the end of the movie, Angela Bassett was in that movie, and so was James Woods.
Yes.
She said, yeah, we looked over her her recorder that she had, her head cam. And she said, it was interesting. And so James was like, well, what's interesting about it? She said that her head cam had static on it. He said, oh, so what? She said, that's not what I said was interesting. What was interesting is that she had 16 hours of static on her webcam.
Wow.
And he said that is interesting. So the way he said it was like, so you all knew she went, and he was a senator, and then had to make her look like she was a fool and never went anywhere.
Wow.
So I did calculations about that years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We were just doing that today for the secure parties that I trained. And so 3 seconds, and then we're just using Gregorian time, and this is an approximation. This is not written in stone, but this is just to give people an idea of time.
Right.
3 seconds of Earth time, so the time she was in there and they released her and she hit the water, that was 3 seconds it took.
Okay.
So 3 seconds of Earth time, and they said she had 16 hours of status with 16 hours of galactical time. So then that means a minute of Earth time is equal to 320 hours of galactical time.
Wow.
Which is equal to 1.63 Earth weeks. 1 hour of Earth time is equal to 19,200 hours of galactical time, which is 21 Earth days, which of course is 3 weeks.
Wow.
1 day of Earth time is equal to 460,800 days of galactical time, which is 504 Earth years.
Wow.
1 year of Earth time is equal to 168,192,000 years of galactical time.
That's deep.
So, 10 years of Earth time is equal to 1,681,920,000 years of galactical time. 20 years of Earth time is equal to 3,363,840,000 years of galactical time. So anyone that's 42 years of age on Earth, their galactical time, their galactical age is 7,064,064,000 years.
Wow.
So these numbers are based on the movie Contact, where it took the 3 seconds for Jodie Foster's car to splash in the Southeast Pacific Ocean. So the factor at the end of the movie is the 16 hours of static that was recorded on her camera inside of the 3 seconds time span.
That's
so this
amazing.
proves once you get outside of the planet, what you call time is much more broader, and that's now where you get this phrase, what you call a day could be 1,000 years.
I was just thinking the same thing. Yes. Yeah. 1 day with the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is 1 day.
So these are contracts, and there's a difference between what is written in stone that cannot be broken, which are fundamental laws of the universe, and the statutes and codes are not law. They can be negotiated. Breathing is not a negotiable instrument.
No, it's not.
Eating is not a negotiable instrument. Your cells dividing is not a negotiable instrument. I don't feel like dividing my cells. I don't feel like breathing for 3 days. No. That is a law of nature. So that will give the people the understanding between an adhesion contract, a statute/code, and actual law. Law you cannot break.
Right.
So if your listeners or anyone's got any questions, let's do it.
Wow. So much to comprehend. But it's amazing. I'm going to type in the chat. Anyone have any questions? The way you broke down that whole galactical time, that's amazing, because that's I guess where people get the whole philosophy about having an old soul, because we've been traveling for quite some time.
Correct. From uterus to uterus.
Yeah.
Hitchhiking through the galaxy.
Dream. Okay, Monk had a quick question about since we were talking about the galactical time. What about dreams when you're traveling, I guess, through that different state of consciousness while you're sleeping?
Yeah, because you're leaving your body.
So
Okay.
it's real then.
Oh yeah, and the more relaxed you are, the deeper your sleep is, the more it seems like you're in that dream a lot longer, or it seems like not a lot of time has gone by. If you watch the movie Inception, they talk about a dream within a dream within a dream. And so some people have
Yes, I remember
experienced that where
Inception.
you had a dream, and then in the dream you were dreaming, and you had a dream in that dream.
Yep. That's happened to me many
So that
times.
means you were-
I woke up and I'm still in the dream, then wake up again, I'm still there. So it's like we're multi-dimensional beings then.
Say that again. You're what?
So we are multi-dimensional beings.
Yes. Omniverse. This is why the movie the one by Jet Li is a hard movie. I don't even know if you can get it anymore.
Yeah, the one
Which one?
I always reference that the one I always say that the one where he was going to different dimensions to kill himself so he could be the only.
Oh
one
yeah, the one. It's
Yeah.
called The One.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite of his.
Yeah, they actually wanted him to play Seraph in The Matrix, but they couldn't agree on the terms, so he never did it.
Okay.
Otherwise, Seraph would have been was to be Jet Li. That's who they wanted.
So basically, they put a lot of the truth in these movies.
Oh, you better believe they do. But
Oh, yeah.
it's hidden in
And
plain sight.
Now,
That's where you hide something.
I
out
got
in the
another
open.
question.
You hide something from humans right in front of their face because they won't see it. You hide something from niggers, as they say, by putting it in a book because black people don't read. And
Right.
then in the book, African Origins of Biological Psychiatry, it states that most black Americans, blacks particularly in the United States, are unable to process cognitively. And the word cognitively means to comprehend what they see, hear, or feel
That makes
in the world in which they live.
So that is the reason why all these standardized tests have the section of reading comprehension, and most of black students fail it.
Yes.
It's meant to be that way.
Yeah, well, again, if you're giving a child leopard images 24 hours a day and there's no image that looks like them, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out they're not going to feel, it's going to weigh on their self-esteem. They're not going to feel inclined to want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Going to school is like they're counting the minutes where, between recess where they can get out. There might be fun aspects which they'll like, but it's not something that they see any importance to.
Okay, I got another question. There was a few
Yes.
times I woke up floating over the bed, and it was real. I wasn't in a dream. I was floating, like levitating. What you think that was?
You left your body, and that's what happens when you go to sleep. You leave your body.
But I was awake when this happened.
So you probably between dimensions.
Yeah, you left your body.
Mm-hmm.
See, you got to look at your body as a vessel and stop. And this is what people, who want to, get on a higher level, and this contract as well. Your body is a vessel, and you have to look at it like that and stop looking at it like it is you. It is not you. It is a vessel, and you, doctor, You soup it up. You put 22s on the vessel. You put some rims on it, and that's a vessel. Or you put a grill on the vessel,
Right.
or put some bling on the vessel, and that really isn't you. That is just a vessel that's used for purposes of interfacing on this plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, just like when we have on our webinar, we have an affidavit folder that we tell people if they have any pre-existing contracts,
Mm-hmm.
that they have to do this, because saying I am white and then doing the correct steps to nullify the pre-existing adhesion contracts, if they're trying to enforce them on you, is not going to work. Why? Because they're going to say, oh, well, we have this document that you gave us and said this was it, and they never went back to strike the document. I had a guy that was in New York in Utica that had was with the Moore Science Temple. He withheld that from me and was having problems. And then with the, Child Protective Services, and then he kept hitting them with the international, the UNDRIP. And then one day they finally came to him and said, look, we don't have a problem with the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. The issue is that you have this existing contract that you filed in court and said your name was a different name. And, of course, it was that certificate of nationalization crap from the Moorish Science Temple, and that's exactly what it is. Crap from the Great Seal, crap from whatever Sabir Bay's pushing. If it talks about nationality, crap from Pleasant Bay, crap. Moorish Science Temple, Inc., crap. Temple 13 in Baltimore, crap. It's all crap.
All under rulership of the Vatican through the 501c3. It's not going to change.
It's all crap. The people who don't know will go there and they put on a good show.
Yep.
A really good show. But when someone like myself says, okay, can you show me a court case that any of you all have used that and have gotten an outcome that you wanted, and not one of them can show it to me.
Nope.
So that means it's no good. It's paper for paper. There are aspects as a move which are credible. However, again, when these lepers are looking, they know your history, so they're expecting someone who calls himself a Moor to be able to speak Arabic, Egyptian,
or
Cameroonian, Hebrew. They have to speak those languages, not just dress up and be stuck on English. And that's the problem. So language is what's going to differentiate people who say they're woke, which woke is an Ewok. And you know who the Ewok is from
Star Wars.
That's what woke is, an Ewok.
Wow.
I never even looked at that.
Woke, you spell it E-K, it's Ewok.
Yeah. You know,
that's what it is.
You said something earlier really got my attention. You were saying about how the so-called conscious community has to go around saying they're conscious, they're woke, all this stuff. It kind of reminds you of a child when they're passing adolescent stage and going into adulthood, and they're going around saying, I'm grown, I'm an adult, you can't talk to me like that. And they don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, but they still grown, and they don't own. This is what the conscious community is. Oh, I'm conscious, bro. I'm woke. I know the mathematics of today.
What con is? C-O-N. Con.
Con.
And then even with the scientists, they say, well, what is consciousness? I said, that's the incorrect word to use.
Right.
I'm talking about the physicists now, right? Consciousness is not the word to use. The word would be awareness.
Right.
Not consciousness, awareness. That's why they said, well, how do you define consciousness? No, it's awareness. And then at a point, you'll realize the interconnection that you have with the universe, and that the physical body is just a vehicle to basically say, instead of being a wave function, now you're a particle for a period of time, which seems like a long time. Then when that time comes, that's it. the body turns itself inside out, or as they say, the body gives up the essence, releases itself from the prison of the body.
Right.
It's good information, man.
So this is why we tell everybody they have to do an affidavit, because they're operating in the world according to commerce and contracts. That is a fact.
That's the highest form of
That
law.
is a fact. And if you belong to any of these corporations through contracts of any kind, you must correct that for the record through an affidavit.
Right.
Contracts extend to holding on to any mental allegiance / agreements with the mentality of an organization you belonged to. You're not going to hold on to Jesus / a corporate Moorish doctrine and claim to be indigenous. It's not going to work. You cannot have both worlds.
Once you correct everything. So
this is why. So anybody from the Moorish Science Temple has got that Moorish Science Temple card. I let them come on the one time on the webinar. Afterward, they got to do affidavit. If they're from the Hebrew Israelites, they got to do affidavit.
right. Wow.
That's what has to be done.
So now, Chief, the biggest question now is, once a person is corrected and, change their status, they're no longer in adhesion to any of these contracts with any of these corporations, any of these false corporations. What do they do about survivorship? Because I don't know if there is a practice for correcting things. If you have a livelihood, if you have a job, of course, if you have a family, you have to find a way to provide. And if you're currently working a job, do you just up and leave that, or do you go in there and correct everything? Say, I'm a indigenous Autochthon, and I'm not in contract with any of the corporations dealing with the United States. How does that work?
No, because the Social Security number is the citizen.
Okay.
Because the back of the card, it says what? This card is property of who?
The United States.
It's property of Social Security
Administration, which is an agency.
It says it right on the... All right. So therefore, that means that is the citizen that the paper is talking about, another paper citizen. However, the paper citizen requires a host, if you will, for it in order to move about. Because if you say the name on, if they say this is your card, they say no, it says it's not my card, and that means by default the name is not yours either.
Wow.
That's trafficking in human cargo. It's right there. People holding it every day and don't even see it.
They don't even know it. Right.
So the point of the matter is, under threat, duress, coercion, to have to provide for oneself or for one's family, this is what you have to do. But that in no means avoids anything you've done as far as being an autochthon, as far as calling yourself white, because they set this up. We didn't set it up. They keep saying it's a free world. The West is free. You could do anything you want.
No, it's
Why
not.
are they forcing bums in Florida to have to get reintegrated back into society?
Yeah.
Why are they stopping all the homeless camps in California, in Florida, and all these different homeless camps where people say they feel much more relaxed, they feel at peace, right? They don't have to worry about the stress of going to work and all this stuff. They're living in a tent, but you have public officials saying, no, we have to integrate these people. This isn't right, because that's freedom. So now with the work that I've done, it's forcing them to say, okay, either you all, not you all, but the ones who say, okay, if you don't want to stay in the Matrix, you're supposed to get the out. And that was talked about in the Matrix third movie at the end, where the architect met with the, what's her name, with the Oracle, and she said, are you, I have your word. What about the others? He said, what others? The others that want out. He said, obviously they will be freed. And then she said, I have your word. He said, what do you take me for, human? So in other words, the computer said it will honor the contract of releasing those that want to get out of the matrix. Who are you having the problem with? Not with the computer, with the human. Or the beings, or the black people. Some black people will fight you after you've done your SF-181 more than these Amorites and lepers will.
Yeah.
Because they still have that slave mentality that here you are doing this show, and now you gonna get us in trouble. And so when I hear that or pick up that vibration coming from them, I say, so you're still a slave then. So just admit you're a slave, you like it on the Matrix, and you're a sadomasochist because you like whips and chains. They're not physical, they're mental, but you're into that S&M.
Right. Wow. You know, it's funny you said it because me and Monk was talking to someone after last week's broadcast, and he was just kind of letting them know. I think they were listening in, and because he was pretty excited last week, and he was trying to tell them, like, I'm changing my status. I'm gonna correct this thing, and you should do it too. And they were like, no, I'm a strong black woman, and ain't nothing gonna change that about me, and all that. And I'm not telling nobody that I'm white. And see, and it's all fear based, and all the militants that's been plugged into their mentality to say, I can't let go of black.
So they admit then that they are beaten mentally by these lepers and hold on to black, which is a confession that they can't really go for freedom.
Right.
Like I said, Malik Shabazz, I called him twice, left messages, can't return my call. Professor Griff.
Well, he's not going to return your phone call because he started the, the New Black Power Nation? Or the New Black Panther Nation?
Well, Malik Shabazz was the New Black Panther Party.
New Black Panther Party.
Even Angela Davis, when she was at some feminist meeting, said, I'm a black woman. And I said, oh, you're done. Asaka Shakur, that's in Cuba, same thing, done. I was like, wow, what's wrong with these people? I said, oh, black, if you hold on to black, they think they are existing, and they are not existing. They have to let go of the black to exist.
That's right.
This is about existence and not fading. What do they say? Fade to black?
Fade to black. Wow.
They're telling you right in the entertainment.
Yeah.
Fade to black. Credits, fade to black.
Don't exist. And that's where all the picture is gone, everything's gone. Fade to black. I learned that in Video 101.
Telling you right there, so we have to change the language and correct the incorrect syntax. So now, then they start to see you, and then now they have to honor the contract. So like I said, I commend you for doing that, and these are the type of challenges that have to be done by telling Byron Allen, like, here, I'm going to send this to you, but you're not winning that case.
Right.
Every black lawyer in the United States Corporation, the Nigerian lawyers in the United Kingdom, all of them know. The deal is live a good life, keep the rest of the sheep at bay.
And keep quiet. The deal. That's it. Keep your mouth shut.
When they flip on them, I'm always surprised why you ain't flipping on these guys. They're throwing you out to the wolves. The same people fighting the system, and the system flips on them, then they start screaming, look what they did to us. No, Monique, they didn't do nothing to you.
Oh, my God.
That black that don't stand in that law.
That's it.
Then all of a sudden, look what they're doing to us. No, because when you get that contract for $3 million, we ain't getting none of that. So stop lying.
Right.
It's business. It's contract is business. If it's us, you must have been given something. If you ain't been given nothing, you can't say us because you're not in the same boat. Because when they go out to the club, they staying in a VIP section, right? They stay like You watch when BET, what was it, the Def Comedy Jam was on. All the stars didn't sit out front. They sat up in the balcony, away from everybody.
That's right.
So don't say we're equal. No.
No. And you know
Stop
what?
with that. This is contract.
You mentioned Monique. You even see the reaction that she got with Steve Harvey. He was pretty much like saying, well, just kind of calm down a little bit. You don't have to say all of that. Don't say everything that's on your mind, because, in other words, you come on my show with all that loud foolishness, you're going to mess up my money, because he's boule.
He got his money messed up because they canceled 2 of his shows.
They canceled 2 of his shows, right. That's true.
Yeah. After the Monique.
Yeah.
So he took a chance
because
with
of the association.
Correct.
So, in other words, it's like saying, okay, I got my money over here, and they fixed me up really good. So you can't come over here screaming all that stuff on my show. You gonna mess me up.
He did that at the 25th. They had the Def Comedy Jam 25th anniversary.
Yeah, yes.
And everyone was swearing, and he said, "Oh no,
I'm not saying that.
I got 2 jobs. Y'all ain't gonna mess my money up."
Yep. He said it right there on live.
And in the end, still lost.
Still lost. Yeah. Took him off Family Feud, and he canceled his day show.
Yeah. And so the pattern is apparent, right? Look at Tiffany Haddish was able to host Saturday Night Live,
right?
And they could say African American for her because her father is from Eritrea and her mother's from California.
Wow.
Whoopi Goldberg couldn't even do that. Now I see, last I saw a video of The View, Whoopi Goldberg's dyeing her hair blonde. Why? Come on, Whoopi, don't play me. You was with Ted Danson. He did blackface, got into trouble for that.
Yep. That's right. Right up to Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Exactly. So here's the thing. Stop black people fronting that you can't stand white people or you proud to be black, but then y'all black women be dyeing your hair blonde, blue, purple, kaleidoscope, straightening your hair.
Kaleidoscope.
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah.
What y'all gonna do? What you gonna do?
Right.
What? Because your outward expression is showing that's who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of the hypnotic spell to get them to hate themselves. Pepper from Salt and Pepper bleaching her skin. Damn. Who's the next one? Mary J. Blige. Well, her hair always been off and on blonde anyway, so it don't matter. Right? You notice all you have to do is watch these stars when they come in, right? J-Lo was on Living Color. Her hair was all brunette. Now you see, then it went blonde.
Oh, yeah.
Because what is it they're doing? That's the game for the entertainment, to dye your hair blonde so you look more like the people you're trying to sell to.
Yes.
Because, what's his name? The rapper from Philly. Dang, I forget his name. He was having that beef with Jay-Z.
Who, Meek Mill?
And, no, not Meek Mill. The other one. The other rapper. Can't remember. If you call his name, I'll know. It's not Freeway Ricky.
Beanie Siegel.
Beanie Siegel.
Yeah.
And Beanie said, the ones who buy the rap music ain't black people. It's Amorites who buy the rap music. He said once you get over, I think it was 750,000 on SoundScan to see how your sales, he said that's all Amorites.
Wow.
So the hip-hop people talk about stealing our culture. Fuck hip-hop culture. Yes, I said it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you all are black.
Yep.
You have no culture to defend. All you are an untapped or a tappable energy source.
Wow.
That's why they can steal the records, they can steal the artwork, they can steal the lingo,
they
they
do.
can steal the style, they can steal the language. They're really trying to steal your melanin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're not getting that you have to say, okay, we cannot use the same language they're using, because by using their language, we stay in bondage.
Yeah.
So that's why I laugh when people say, oh, no, hip-hop is a culture. What culture?
What culture?
Where is black? What's the origin of black? Where do blacks come from? Africa? No. That's Africa. You said black. Where does black come from? How did black come into existence? Simple. See how it's quiet now?
Yeah, real quiet.
This is what we're talking about. So, like I said, that people come on the webinar. I'm the only Nubanite on the planet that has an active claim on Elizabeth, which connects to the Rothschilds, because I also have a lien on the Rothschilds. They're in that same category. They're in there. And so the pictures that have been put up, that I put where you see Elizabeth frowning and the page holding the crown and delivering...
That one that you posted last week, a couple days ago, that really got me. She was standing there with her hands in her pocket. I'm like, okay, come on now. Are you kidding me? I couldn't believe that mess, man. That was crazy.
They know what's happening up at the top. It's not an issue about what I'm doing. It's an issue of, are the masses going to get the hint? The woman, as far as I'm concerned, confessed, abdicated her throne, and I swooped in, and it's not so much of a swoop because the claim has been out there since 2012.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, the debtor has to pay up.
Better believe it.
The Vatican is aware of this because the Vatican's also a bank, so they have that.
Yes.
And so, before anybody says, oh, he said the F word, no, it's called fornication under the consent of the king. That's what happened in war.
That's what marriage license is, too.
And for those that want to know, it's not even an English word, it's French.
Yes.
And the word fuck means a baby seal.
Yes.
See how this to calm some people that, well, he's got all this, he's using foul language. I said, no, that means a baby seal.
Wow. Wow.
So baby seal the hip hop.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, my God. Hey, Monk said he just want an invitation to the palace when you get in there.
Yeah, man.
Oh, you got it. Like I said,
let me bring my band out so we come give you some of this good music.
Oh yeah, oh definitely, and don't forget Lalo Alcaraz, who's a producer at Nickelodeon. He worked on Coco. He asked me for a title.
Really?
Yeah, it's on. He actually went on my LinkedIn page and put in, "It's about time. Can I be vice queen?" So I said, no, I'll make you a baron. So come on our webinar.
Wow.
Right? That's at @sikataym@gmail.com. Send a request in. Come on, I'll give you, and once he does that, I'll give him another title. See, what this means is I can reset the nobility on the planet.
Yes.
And that's why this is what people are not getting.
They're not.
You actually, I did this law of attraction thing a little while ago. One of them I did for like $2 million, and it's like supposed to happen in a couple of days. But my old neighbor, actually won $2 million. That used to live next door to me. So I said, well, okay, maybe it was a hit and miss. Maybe I didn't concentrate and focus on it right, because
maybe it was a conduit and they owe you.
Maybe it came, but it just went to somebody else that was close to me, didn't come to me. So all this talk of royalty, I always thought of myself for that, like in my mind is like on some Mansa Musa type of thing. And then I found out from one of my cousins, our bloodline is direct descendants from Mansa Musa. So it's like now it's getting deep, because now you on the show and you bringing like truth to reality about how that that royalty is really in place and how all that stuff is really ours by you even saying that you put a lien on the crown jewels and with the palace and all of that. Now it's coming to fruition. So I'm kind of open. I'm like a baby that got some new candy. You know what I'm saying?
But, yeah, it's past it's past the lien. It's a claim now.
It's a claim.
I
Yeah.
claim
claim
it's
now.
own. It's not a joke. This is a claim.
Mm-hmm.
And when they show you the picture of who the original Britain is, who's Cheddarman, that ain't Elizabeth. That ain't
No,
her
it's
family.
not. That's right.
So when are the real descendants of the nobles, nobility, of toxins going to say something? That's why the pictures of the one with her in her pockets and then the one with her from the film room, her pocket, and myself, people are supposed to be printing it off, framing it, bronzing it, whatever, and say, we just got a sign from the universe of a toxin that looks like us, that has a claim to the throne. When they talk about the Portuguese black nobility, that wasn't talking about Elizabeth, and I always make the joke that, and when you even look at the picture again, her hair's not straight, it's curly, so she knows where her lineage is from. She's her family's a bastard family, as they would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, the people the people who listen to it, they have an obligation now to say something if in support of what I have done and my claim. They don't do it, they have no right to have their freedom. It's an interconnected situation right now.
Wow.
This should be news. Like you filed a lien. Like Polite made a statement, you can't file a lien on the White House. That's why you can't give black people stuff they get crazy with. But Polite won't ever say my appellation because I know who his daughter is. I know who his daughter's, not his daughter, but his wife. I know who his wife is the daughter of, and I know his wife's father.
Liberia, right?
No. Polite's wife, I know who she's the daughter of. And Polite is married to a master's daughter, and I know who he is, and the master knows who I am, and Polite knows who I am. So
you see, they just tried to kidnap his daughter a couple days ago.
He was just on Instagram talking he couldn't find his daughter.
Yeah, he got her back.
He got her back.
They said the guy jumped out the car and she ran somewhere and hid, but the phone was off. So that's when it get real. I tell people, like, it's all good to get their knowledge, but you still have to be careful because we on the YouTube, we public, giving this knowledge out, waking people up. And the people will take a stab at your family sometime, or you. You know what I mean? So we still have to be aware.
Well, he's black. Polite's black.
He's black. Unapologetically black. And that's what he keeps saying, the whole black woman is God type of thing. And he's been saying that for the last 7-8 years.
A lot of them.
Yeah, but he got that from Malachi Z. York. So before Malachi Z. York said it, he never said it.
Because he's down with the new WAP.
Well, not only that, but that's where most of his books are plagiarized from.
Yeah. I know that. So does Tariq Bates. He'll take a book, rewrite it, put his name on it like he wrote the book. Tariq, they've been doing that.
Wow.
Hit my man off, huh? Wow.
That's crazy.
That's why I don't follow nobody, man. I like to learn, but I don't follow nobody.
Yeah.
That's deep.
See, this is not... See, you can't say you want the truth and don't think you're not going to offend some people.
Oh, you
That's
are.
ridiculous.
You are.
Yeah, because that what you just said. I know somebody who's like, they study up under him, and it's like, it's the same thing with, being in a Christian church, you all into the pastor. But you come into this light of consciousness, they still treat it as like you're listening, to a pastor. You know what I mean?
Listen, the conscious community is nothing more than an offset or like a new church denomination of the new millennium. That's all it is.
The conscious community is a bunch of emancipated slaves that are still on the plantation.
Right. Right.
And you notice how they do more ridiculing of each other than teaching nowadays.
Yeah, the whole thing is debate.
It's this one against this one. This
20,
debate,
30 years ago, it was about education.
No more.
Nowadays, it's just about who's debating who, and all of them. None of them have.
None of us talk about what my man's talking about. I want to hear what he talk about because this sounds right. You put you got a claim on the palace. That's what I'm talking about.
But the thing about it, everything Chief is talking about is verifiable.
I believe it.
Everything that he said tonight, he sent me prior to the show, so I could post in the chat room and I could read for myself. Right, so it's not like he's making this stuff up.
I knew about the Moors, but he just clarified it about how it was fraudulent.
Yeah, of course.
Back then, I ain't gonna say my man, but back then, so this more than 12 years ago, I was going to the Moore Science Temple, the one here in Trenton,
right?
And it was just something that said, don't be signing all these papers. Just lay back. Wait, see what really goes on, because I don't like to jump into nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then he just verified it and saying, it didn't make no sense to me. How are you claiming sovereignty, which you're getting the diplomatic status, but you have a registered address outside of the country, but you still have some paperwork saying you a U.S. citizen? You know why? How does that work? You know what I'm saying? That didn't sit well with me. So
they dip in and out.
And he just broke it down moments ago when he was talking earlier, and I was like, that gave me a sense of relief. Like, man, maybe something that just guided me the right way, because I like to do things right and exact. Try to.
Those are the reasons why you never joined that.
Yeah, and now he done said it, because that could be a trap. I told you. Cuzzo, you know, he's misleading a lot of people with that.
Himself.
Yeah, I mean, no, he got a lot of people. Yeah. He was still doing crimes, getting locked up, and he was teaching that to people in jail. And now it's hundreds of them. And he, owe these cats a lot of money.
See that?
They invested some money into him. So now it's that, and like strangers that were in the Moorish Science of America were coming to me, asking me questions like, yeah, this is what this guy did. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow. Some people just they take it for a joke and try to play with that stuff, and it ain't really nothing to be playing with.
Right.
So that's like I like to thank you, brother, for coming on my man's show. Just being on our station to present this information, because it's very powerful and it's really needed. And I feel like we are here because we supposed to be here. Everybody that's in the chat room or listen to the broadcast, you here because where you supposed to be at. You know what I mean? To get this information.
Well, Chief, I'm gonna tell you like this. I'm so committed to being ambassador of this kind of information, because along with me correcting my own status, I'm trying to get other people to understand they got to do this for themselves. So I really, and you can decide later. You don't have to decide now, but I would love for you, if you would say yes to doing a show once a month, like maybe every fourth Sunday or every third Sunday, whatever.
I'll consider it. I'll meditate on it.
Okay, that's good enough.
I'll meditate on that.
We have so much. We covered a lot in the last 2 weeks, but this is just scratching the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is why, like I said, I put the videos out that I have online.
Yep.
And again, people have to be a self-starter. And I'll tell black people particularly, if you don't like to read, you're going to have a difficult time with this, because you're going to do a ton of reading.
That's a fact.
You're not getting away from reading. Reading is mandatory.
Yep. And I'll say that to vouch for what you're saying. For those of you who are considering correcting your status, get in touch with Chief. He has his information on Facebook. His mate will send you the information. This is not easy. It's so much information to absorb. One, because you really have to unlearn everything you've learned prior to this. You're really getting a new education. Because everything you were taught in school about history and about our so-called history is not. It's all based on a lie. And you will do a lot of reading. It's a lot of information that you have to absorb. You'll have to read and reread, because you won't get it all just by skimming through it. You got to really read, take notes, go through the stuff, mutter it down and read it again, take it in, and to the point where Chief's desire is for you to actually comprehend it. Because if you get stuck in a bind, you're not going to be able to just call him up. You got to know this stuff.
Correct. 1,000% correct. So that's the deal with the adhesion contracts. So now when it comes to people in the entertainment industry, they're bound by those contracts, and those contracts dictate how they, do their stuff. Same thing like with Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon's wearing a turban.
Yeah.
And, I admire him for doing that. But we got to get real. What's the solution?
Mm-hmm.
Even when Jay-Z was at the NFL, he asked people, what's the solution? I said, the solution is quite clear. Tell black people they're actually white, and for white people, say they're actually lepers. That's the solution right there.
Right.
See that guy in the DJ in South Carolina that was going around, right, screwing all the black women? He was only the black woman he was going after was HIV.
Oh, yeah.
DJ something,
yeah.
DJ guy.
I know you're talking about.
And he infected 600,
a whole bunch
700, 800 women.
Yeah.
Right? And so you know what this means now. This means that the image of, he's good looking for a white guy, that's gone. You see how they killed that story, because they don't want that image, and then black women don't think about twice about laying in a bed with a leper.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
This is reality.
He just said it just like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, talk about what he dropped it on the leper part, because now, while them contracting the disease like that, that's just like, oh man, you got an advanced form of leprosy. And it's also a form of punishment. When you look at it, like, you know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? They knew what they was doing, but I guess they thought like the money or whatever, and now,
Rob 'em.
You know what I'm saying? And we deal with, we on some Dr. Sebi dealing with the cures, because I went to the holistic clinical school with with Queen of Four and Dr. Lila Africa, so you know a lot about that. But for the people who don't, man, you can lead a horse to the river, but you can't make him drink.
Nope.
What's the point?
Right.
I guess there is no point. When I first started getting knowledge of self, it was to help others, because my righteous attribute when I got dealt with the 5% nation, the gods of earth, was born Savior Allah. So I was in, I picked something that was more of my personality, or just picking a name, because a lot of people can't live up to the attributes. So I picked something that was more of my personality up until this point. So now it's like, this information brings more vitality to that, but in a proper way, even to the point where you can actually fill out a status and like claim this. You are royalty, you are the gods, you are the goddesses. You know what I'm saying? But that information on how to play it out, that's what's needed. So I like to thank you for bringing that information out, because that's what's needed right now. You know what I mean? We got a lot of people that's lip professing, saying this, and a lot of it is for financial gain. Now we have a positive direction to go in with some positive results, and that's what it is. Especially when I was asking the question about finances, like how would you still survive? Do you still work a job? Or somebody in the chat said they just live off the land, and sometimes we need examples. You know what I mean? Of how to obtain things, and what's the proper steps. So I guess that's just like a section that has to be learned once we get to a certain level. You know what I mean?
Yes, but the thing is, you need to make freedom your motivation.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm stressing, is freedom. and then, okay, let's grow land. Let's get some land. Because then you have to work together. You have to learn to do business together.
Right.
Right.
On a whole, people don't know how to do business honorably together with each other.
Right.
That's the answer I was looking for.
That has to be learned.
That's true.
And nobody wants to talk about that. They want to talk about black business, how to run your business and start a business. Yeah, but there are certain things that happen, whether one is discriminated against or you're trying to get contracts, you're being blocked. Black has no standing at law.
That's
and then
true.
they say, okay, well, we got to throw some crumbs to them. So here, we'll fees and then the subpar contract that gives them a little something, we'll give that to them. And this is why I said any person who's a black business person has no business staying as black or African American. They deserve to get robbed.
Dang.
Wow.
Wow. You said deserve to get robbed. Well, as an owner of this station, man, one of the owners, I would love to extend a helping hand, whatever form we could do. There's other things we do, but you see this goes out to, hundreds of millions of people worldwide. We have a wide network here. And, whatever we could do.
I'm on the webinar.
Yeah, whatever we could do.
I'm on the webinar, change your status. Until that's done, it doesn't mean anything. My phone is I'm gonna have to stop right now here because I got 2 hours. Otherwise, my phone's gonna cut off.
Okay.
So this way, so whoever's answering the phone, so let me just do this ahead of the 2 hours.
Right.
And then I'm just gonna hang up right now and call back, and we'll talk. We'll pick up on that part here. So just let me hang up.
All right. Well, for that, we can continue conversation offline, but we'll go ahead and cut the show for tonight. But we'll continue that conversation offline. Monk, if you got questions for him when he calls back, we can talk. But Chief, thank you for coming on the Freedom Truth Radio Show once again. And whenever you make that decision, you just reach out and we'll go from there. Probably cut off. Okay, I think his phone already cut off. All right, everybody, thank you for those of you who logged in and watched us on Facebook Live. I appreciate you listening in and sharing your comments and your thoughts.
He said he's calling.
Oh, he's calling. Okay. Well, send him a message. I'm actually cutting the show off. But yes, for those of you that joined us tonight, we really appreciate it. And we'll be doing more shows like this because it's so informative and so much information to take in. And really thank the Chief for coming in and sharing all his information and knowledge and really enlightening. Oh, bring him on.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Chief, I was just closing out the show, but I was going to say if you want to, we can have that conversation offline, but that's fine.
Yeah, some remarks or something.
Yeah,
no,
please.
I was just telling people that they got to come on everything that's happening in their life.
Mm-hmm.
They have to come on our webinar. They got to change their status.
That's the first order of
whether
business.
it's Tony Brown, Roland Martin, Boyce Watkins,
Mm-hmm.
they're ignoring the fact that they have no standing at law.
Right.
So until their status is changed, nothing is going to stop the abuse. Nothing of that is going to stop. That's part of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Black is a contract, and the terms and conditions of black is that it can be abused. That's the deal.
Wow.
So in order to stop that or not be classified as that, you got to come on our webinar and send in a request. Come on the webinar. We show you how to change your status. If you have a pre-existing contract, then you're going to have to do an affidavit. If you're from Moore Science Temple or any of these other groups, which are really social clubs, because when this subject matter comes up, they can't answer you. So that means that
That's a fact.
it's like people are going around creating their own little minstrel theaters.
Wow. Wow.
Remember Bamboozled, the movie?
Yes. Yes.
Niggas is a beautiful thing.
Mantan Moreland. Yes. Yes.
Right? And everybody thought that the year 2000 things would be different. We're going into the millennium. And where are we at? 2019?
2019, 20 years later almost.
We gotta find this guy.
Black people have already been put back into slavery. Byron Allen is saying they're trying to do that, and you got the video proof that I talked about that
Yep.
back in 2011,
Back in
8 years
2011.
ago. They
That's right.
already put black people into slavery if they thought they were out of it.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that brought up that Civil Rights Act. It wasn't Byron Allen's team. The lawyers for
Comcast.
Comcast,
Yeah.
they're the ones that brought that up. So that means Byron Allen didn't know about it, and definitely his attorneys didn't think, well, this was relevant, and they're saying he's got to prove 100% it's because he's black, which would mean you got to prove discrimination. And from an international level, discrimination is difficult to prove. That's why they don't use the word genocide. You got to be flesh and blood. Black people are not considered persons. They're considered three-fifths
of a human
They're
being.
not real. Therefore, by default, they have no rights internationally or domestically.
Wow.
You got to get white. I say white power in front of Amorites. They don't say nothing. We say white power on the phone. When we send up emails out, my mate sends them out, you'll see white power at the end of the email. We say this. We're not blocked on YouTube. We're not blocked on Facebook.
No.
Why? Because every time we put that, we make sure we put the definition, and then we put the link to say that the U.S. Department of Education is the one that's sanctioning this and is saying these are the definitions.
That's right. Yep.
So they don't, if somebody who's black that says black power, they won't bar them because they're considered a minority. Minority means you're a child.
Yep.
So when Byron Allen started saying minorities, he's listening to the lawyers. The lawyers are giving him the wrong language. He's supposed to be saying an autochthon. All these people as a visible minority, you're saying you're a child.
Yes.
And he's paying his lawyers millions of dollars for that.
for them to declare him as a child.
Well, this is why he said he spent millions of dollars on that case.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Charlemagne asked him, and he said, "Oh, I spent millions, so I don't even keep count." And I'm like, "Yeah, of course you don't keep count. Because the end result is you're gonna lose."
Yeah, you better believe they're counting. They're counting all the way to the bank.
Yeah, they're getting all his billable hours and all that.
Yep.
I'm like, no. And if he did it on contingency, I doubt that
Oh,
very
my
much.
God.
They're gonna take things like that on contingency.
Yeah.
And he just let the cat out the bag that if this wins, that means you can't get a lawyer or can't get access. That is the next stage of the bondage. The first stage was the changing of the race and ethnicity, if you will.
Yes.
They gave people the remedy. Then they changed that the judges can void the Constitution in court.
Mm-hmm.
Now, then the third stage was when they asked about, are you a citizen? So it's going to come out at some point in the future that blacks really aren't citizens. That's why I gave you that 13th Amendment with 20 sections.
Yes.
How come none of these Moors have that?
They don't.
That's an original. You got a high-definition quality document, so it shows, and you read Section 12.
Yes. It says it plainly there.
So all the Moor science temples who have I am a citizen of the USA are saying they're property of the Vatican. I put a lien on the Vatican. I have an active lien on the Vatican and the Pope and all of them. So that means that all those Moor science temples are supposed to be answering to me, and they're refusing it.
Mm-hmm.
So now comes the spiritual punishment for that.
Wow. Wow.
So that's it. So I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody being on this Shadow Hour. And, again, as it pertains to time, remember, time, they have it based on 666.
Yeah, they do.
60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, 666.
666.
And that's bondage. So you got to get out of that time system. And there's a different time system that can be used.
Wow. Okay.
Get white.
Get white.
That's the solution, y'all. Get white, and everything will be all right. Get white. White power.
White power.
The great shadow hour.
You too, Chief.
Peace.
Hey.
All right. That's the Chief.
We gotta get
All
him
right.
to the chief.
Yeah, we'll bring him to Jersey.
We're gonna have to astral travel to the chief.
Yeah, right. Right.
Trying to get there, man.
Yeah, man. This is so much. We man, listen. I'm going all the way in. I don't care who or what. What
It's amazing
enemy,
how-
whatever people think they, don't want to be a part of me
It's amazing how
or
we've been
be
studying
friends.
these things for years.
Yeah.
It started off with the Catholic Christian.
Yeah,
then
yeah.
We took it to the metaphysical level or, the Muslim level. And none of that give you freedom.
No,
It
No.
get you on your way to
it's
seek more.
foundational. It's
But
foundational.
now, it's like even with they were breaking down the time, how what the sister put in here about the time. I can't go back to it. I guess I gotta wait till the broadcast is over to go back to it. When they would talk about the time, like Earth Day is such and such years in galactical time.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? These are things that I kind of had a finger on it just through living life or going through different experiences. But now he put it in reality like, okay, well, it's real. It's not just something in your head. This is your reality. You know what I'm saying? And being taught, that, just grasping on the little bits and pieces of information just to get started on a whole new legacy in life, especially for this half of life. You know what I'm saying? I told you I just turned 45, man. I'm stressing that 50. But that 50,
Yeah.
it'll be different because now you put a different way of looking at it.
Oh
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So, and plus a lot of people in our age in the era are staying more younger at our older age. We get a couple grades, but we get more younger. Like, we use you for example.
Yeah.
You're a whole different person.
True.
You done transformed, shape-shifted on us.
Shape-shifted. I ain't
You
doing
done
no
shape-shifted.
shape-shifted.
You done
I ain't no
shape-shifted.
reptilian, man.
Well, I'm just saying you ain't got
I
to be
know.
a reptilian, but
Yeah, I know.
you know what I mean? Well, you put up that picture you put up from a couple years ago.
Yep.
When you was
Yeah.
a big boy, I knew you. I always knew you as a big boy all my life.
True.
Now you a whole different man. So
Hey man, I'm about to cross 45 too, man. So I gotta keep looking young.
Shoot, man. Look, ain't nothing wrong with
I
that.
turn
though.
45 next January.
Okay. There ain't nothing wrong with that, man. This is good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I know people gonna trip because I like to be kind of like crazy with it. So I'm gonna push that white power thing in people's face. White power, what they talk about? I'm gonna break it down to them, but it's still like I'm gonna play with something. I might even get a coat, get some jacket, and say white power.
He act like the guys when Martin was on Bad Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So that was some important information. So
Yeah.
and I think like I said, that was one of the most vital shows that we have here on Hamilton Radio that was informative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Straight
So
up.
It was great to be a part of that as a white man.
right.
I'm about to say black.
No, we drop him because we
I'm
realize
gonna start using it. Huh?
it don't. Black has no standing at law. It's not. It's kept us dead for so many years, and I'm not subscribing to that no more.
So now, like I said, now we understand why the police with the violence and
Straight
all
up.
that stuff. You know what I mean?
They are under contract because they have a quota to meet.
Yep.
And that's a whole nother show. We got to talk
That's a
about that
whole
too.
nother show.
But yeah.
Somebody's trying to get your attention.
Oh, I see him. Just
Right.
trying to find out who blocked because his mate was had a watch party for the show, and somebody tried to block her.
It's them haters, man.
I don't know.
I already see it coming. What, this type of information? Yeah, it'll come them haters, bro. You can't be talking about none of that, and it's probably another black person.
Yeah.
And now it makes sense because I was just saying,
Crabs in the
man,
barrel, man.
my biggest issue is issues be with other black people. Now you breaking it down like that, I understand why. Because you are living this how can I put it? This repulsive lifestyle out. This, you know, when you're going against your own people like that.
Right.
You know, it seemed like, you know, they could be your worst enemies. You know, they hate to see you, you know, doing good.
Mm-hmm.
Always throwing some type of monkey wrench in the game. You know, trying to mess up your stuff when you advancing. And as you know, we go through stuff just having this station. You know what I mean? All that jealousy and envy. You know what I mean? So now that you know, from this point on, I'm gonna be like white power. I know it's gonna get it now.
Oh,
I know they're gonna. He don't know what he talk about, but then that could be the bait too. And hopefully, by leading by example and having the proper knowledge to break it down to them, whether they accept it or not. Mm-hmm. As soon as it spread, you're gonna see more people like that. Because, you know, we live in a copycat town. They see one person doing something, if it benefit them, then everybody else want to.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Well, we'll close it out for tonight. Thank you all for watching and listening. This is the Freedom Truth Radio Show, where the truth will make you mad first. I know y'all real mad saying that white power. And then it's going to make you free. All right. Till next week, we'll be back with, what we got next week? We got Skip Bailey coming back, and he talk about his new book, From the Farm to the, what is it? From the farm to the boardroom or something like that. He's talking about his success and how he came up. But he'll be here next week. That's a nice, easy show. Y'all can deal with that. Because I know for the last 2 weeks, y'all think we're a bunch of revolutionaries. Well, we are. Revolution won't be televised, so it'll be on radio. All right? Till next week, we'll see you. Peace.